Lesson 5 for Applied Business Tools and Technology is all about e-business organization. So at the end of the lesson, you're expected to understand the organization design for e-business or electronic business and differentiate traditional organization from e-business organization. So, one-on-one in pretest, so just ignore this. Let's proceed to the discussion. So, e-business or electronic business is big, it's complex, fast, and always evolving. And this is not going to change anytime soon. Like karon nga pandemic, e-business is very profitable since everyone is using technology to reach out to customers, to promote products. So, online na almost tanan ron nga services. You can avail different services with the use of electronics. So organizing these types of companies like electronic business companies, in order for them to meet challenges and for their success, it's kind of difficult. There is no one size fits all approach, unlike the traditional or the old approaches of business organization, wherein we just have to put up an organizational chart and then we'll know who to report to, kinsa tong boss, kinsa tong the owner, followed by specific supervisors or other administrators, and then those people at the bottom of the mga staff na bakaron ana. So it's different for e-business. So since there is no one size fits all nga approach, naapod siya common factors in creating organization design. So mo ni siya ang three main design choices companies consider when selecting organization structure for electronic businesses. Naatay reporting lines, dedicated functions, as well as outsourcing. So sa reporting lines, this pertains to which level within the hierarchy the e-business organization should sit. In other words, who should the e-business head report to? Will it be the owner, or kung ang owner mo pod mismo ang business head, kinsa iyahang mga employees, daghan ba siyang employees, or are there are only two operating the electronic business, so kinsay mas pinaka-boss sa ilaha. So they establish reporting lines. Then we also have the dedicated functions. This is the extent to which there are dedicated supporting functions for e-business, such as na ay specific people assigned for supply chain, na ay specific people assigned for digital marketing and other functions of the e-business, as well as the degree to which these functions sit within separate e-business teams. So lahi ang team sa supply chain, lahi sa digital marketing, lahi sa deliveries, lahi sa production. So associated with this is the question of whether to install a chief digital officer or a CDO. This is the counterpart of the CEO sa traditional nga business organization. And to what extent their role should include in business. So in dedicated functions, mag-specify ta og roles and responsibilities for specific teams assigned sa ato ang e-business. Then we also have the last design choice, which is outsourcing. The extent to which particular functions such as online store operations are outsourced to a third party or trusted partner. So if you find that your team is lacking or you do not have enough manpower, you can do outsourcing, wherein you hire other people or a third party, are also known as trusted partner or TP, to perform such functions or roles that would benefit your e-business. So we also have here different factors that we need to consider when selecting an organizational model. So there are four broader factors a company should consider when selecting an organizational model. Ultimately, it comes down to a number of trade-offs for your specific organization. So, we have complexity of the business, maturity of e-commerce business, size and ambition for e-commerce business, and company culture. So, for complexity of business, the number of categories a consumer goods company plays in and extent to which it operates across the same consumer segments. So, for instance, across business unit, e-business structure on the one hand may provide more negotiation power with e-tailers, but on the other hand requires deep understanding of potentially very different consumer segments. So, magdepende siya kung unsa nga type sa e-business ang imuhang gi-organize. Is it very complex, less complex compared to others? Maturity of e-commerce business. How mature a company is in e-business will affect its model. Dugay na ba siya? Mas daghan na ba sila experience? So, ning embrace ba sila diretso sa concept of e-commerce once they have organized their e-business? So, those consumer goods companies that grew up in the digital age will tend to have flatter organization structures, while those nga kadtong nag-start og traditional and then ning embrace sa e-commerce later on because it's the new trend, they will have um, roles at a higher level in order to attract more senior talent to kick off or to kickstart their e-business. Then we have size and ambition for e-commerce business. Consumer goods companies where the e-commerce make up a significant portion of total sales and or have strong ambitions to grow e-commerce may be more likely to move more towards an integrated organization model rather than separating e-commerce into its own dedicated business function. So, the whole company will need to become more digitally minded and cannot afford to isolate its digital talent. So, like Alibaba and JD.com, they have become more omni-channel focused. So, consumer good companies like theirs will need to think in the same way so that they can reach a good portion or a good size of the consumer market. Company culture. Company culture. Companies that promote a more collaborative culture and transversal ways of working will naturally come together and take a more multifunctional approach to the major e-platforms without necessarily needing to be organized in this way and hence may prefer to retain the more traditional model. So, muna siya ang mga factors nga i-consider when creating an organizational model for e-business. Further, as we move on with this discussion, we have different dimensions for e-business organization. Natay organization structure, leadership, people and culture, coherence, knowledge, alliances, and governance. So, the transformation to what we call as an e-org, so from the traditional organization, name mo na tang electronic business and we have embraced the concept of e-commerce, we become an electronic organization. So, it has 7 key dimensions. So, for organization structure, in place of the traditional bureaucratic hierarchical structures, companies who are engaging in e-business should form more flexible, decentralized team and alliance-based organizations that enable employees to respond immediately to opportunities and competitive advantages around the globe. So, the organizational structure should be more flexible and decentralized. Dili lang kay isa ka tawo ang reportan para aning akuan. So it has to be mas specific ang roles, mas daghang approach and mas open siyang organization in terms of communicating with the rest of the employees. So dili na applicable ang autocratic, democratic nga mga approaches sa organizational structure in e-business organization. For leadership, so in the e-org, everyone is a leader. Dili lang kay isa. Charged with creating an environment for collective gain and success. So we also have the next dimension, which is people and culture. The rapid pace and nearly infinite opportunity of e-business will test the limits of companies' people strategies and corporate culture. So, as digital technologies take over, the more routine administrative duties performed by employees, they will amplify the need for skilled knowledge workers. So, it becomes evident nga if you do not have digital skills, if you are not computer literate, then you will not evolve, or you need to improve in order to survive in the e-business industry. Then we also have coherence. This is a shared sense of direction. It will allow a corporation to be greater than the sum of its parts. So, kinahanglan the same mission, the same vision, the same objectives, and that people should work together and be coherent to achieve those to follow that specific direction and to achieve success. So, dapat clear ang roles and responsibilities. They should be delegated to the right people, and the right thing should be accurately measured and rewarded also. Then we also have knowledge. This is the set of understanding used by people to make decisions or take actions that are important to the company. So the e-business is new. So organizing an electronic organization is still developing. So kinahanglan ta og knowledge structure wherein we can get up-to-date information on new improvements and developments, as well as approaches for the development of our e-business. We also have to create alliances. This is an excellent way to secure immediate access to differentiating capabilities. So we have the term strategic alliances. These are cooperative arrangements between two or more companies where a common strategy is developed in unison with and a win-win attitude is adopted. The relationship is reciprocal, with each partner prepared to share specific strengths, and there are pooling resources available as well as investment, and although risk may occur for mutual rather than individual gain. So, if you have other people nga naka-alliance sa imong business, you can rely on them. If you have other companies nga you have formed partnerships, then you can rely on them to help you improve your e-business organization. Governance. So, governance for e-organizations. So, this is dili na siya pareha sa traditional top-down. So, it's internally focused governance structure of the past is yielding to a more distributed model wherein equal division of labor. So, under this new model, the board performs an active advisory role. So, ang katong mga nasa administrative nga part sa organization, mag-advise na lang sila. And aside from that, they also act as control body. They control the movement, the performance, as well as the functions of those other positions in the organization. We have this exhibit or this figure. This is a comparison of the traditional organizational dimensions and the electronic organizational dimensions. So you just read through that, and if you have questions, feel free to message me sa GC or ATM ko ninyo. So that's it for our discussion for lesson 5.